Okay, so we're going to get right into the cold crack repairs. There's 8 total, and one that I cannot fix. At least it's going to require some grinding and some sanding to eliminate some of the bulge that existed from the prior repair. Built up epoxy or some type of resin. I'm not even sure what it is. All I know is it stinks really bad. So I'm going to get into using a Dremel and G-Flex and bevel each edge of the canoe, interior and exterior of the hull, and then apply the G-Flex there, which will then be kind of sandwiched with packing tape on each side to keep it as flush and uniform as possible against the hull and give that time to cure, and then we'll move right into the sanding process. For anyone wondering, this is the Dremel bit that I'm using. It's the 194. It's a 2-piece pack, and it's very low profile and allows you to make a very controlled bevel on each side, and worked out well on the last one, so I'm using it again. And this cold crack extends vertically. This is due to a wrap, I believe. And so with the new cold crack, we need to terminate that cold crack and drill a pilot hole at the end of the crack so it doesn't continue to progress. So it's not pretty right now, but you can see how I beveled on each side of the cold crack. This one is a wrapping incident, I believe. Not sure exactly of the history, but it certainly looks it, the way this crack has traveled. And there's some other wounds over here that have occurred. Looks like it to me, but I'm not sure. So beveled on each side. I removed all of the old repair products and have a nice channel there to accept the G-Flex. It is a wide crack here, but we'll see how we make out in the end. Okay, moving on to the next one. So all of the 8 cracks have been excavated and beveled in order to accept the G-Flex. And some of those cracks were the ones that I exposed again to the previous repairs. So I cleaned those up the best I could for now. And then what I'm going to do is apply some packing tape on the back side of the exterior of the hull, and I'm going to fill from the inside, one side of the canoe at a time. And then I'll get into sanding after that. So the packing tape won't adhere to the epoxy, and that's why I'll apply it tightly on the exterior of the hull, pack that void, the beveled prepared surface on the inside of the canoe, so we'll get it as flush as we can to eliminate a lot of the sanding that could happen if you didn't do that otherwise. And it also allows the epoxy to stay packed in that joint for maximum integrity when it cures. And prior to applying the G-Flex, there's a couple things that need to occur. You need to lightly sand the area of the cold crack. Then you need to apply heat to oxidize the plastic around it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. This one side of the canoe has taken 2 of those vials of the 2-part epoxy G-Flex. So I'm out of material to continue with the starboard side repairs, so I'll just let this cure, come back tomorrow, start up the dehumidifier, remove the moisture from the air so I'll have a proper curing with this epoxy. And then I'll have to, you know, shop around for some others. I had that G-Flex delivered via Amazon. So we have a West Marine right here locally. So I'll head over there tomorrow and pick up some more material. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how these repairs work. On my last video on the Mad River Eclipse canoe, the joints are extremely strong and the same products were applied. So I have a lot of confidence in using this product. Okay, so I flipped the canoe over, and based on all of the G-Flex repairs being complete, it's time to sand. You have these old skid plates that are still on here. I'm going to try and clean those up a little bit without disturbing them too much. Just going to try and make them a little more smooth. And then just going to go over the entire hull starting with 120, working up to 220. Then what I'll do is take a clean cloth with acetone, and then cover the entire canoe, and then get into the painting, the priming, and then the painting. Okay, so the primer coat has cured, and now it's time to apply the forest green finish coat. It's going to take about 3-4 coats of the Rustoleum Marine Topside Coatings deep green. Just going to apply it with the roller and tip it so that I just create as smooth a finish as I possibly can. It's got to be understood with this canoe though, however, this was a badly damaged canoe. It's not going to be like my last restoration. I'm going to try and get it there, but it's just not going to be the same result. It's going to look a lot better, and it's going to have many years of great use down the road, but the finish itself, you know, we're going to get it as good as we can. So we're going to start with the finish coat right now. Film it, but I was not happy with the final coat of the finish coat paint on this canoe, so I sanded it all off again, and just used a 120 and then a 220, and it just I used a brush for the roll and tip method, and I wasn't having very good results at all. It was a decent brush, not the best brush. So I just went with the foam, and that's what I'm going to do. It's going to require 2 more coats because I sanded down most of the way. Some spots you can still see, you can see the primer here. And that's typically what I do with a wood canvas canoe is I apply a coat of paint and then I sand it almost completely off. Because what it does is it fills all of the cracks and voids, and then the next coat and the next coat and the next coat just yields a much smoother surface. This canoe is so badly scraped due to its journeys on several rocky Maine rivers that it's kind of hard to conceal those. So the sanding part wasn't because of the scratches. It was my own doing. I didn't like the result from the tip method using the brush. So I'm moving to the foam, which I usually always use. I didn't have any, so I went to the hardware store today and picked some up. So yeah, just proceeding with 2 more coats of paint and trying to get the best finish on this canoe here. I just wasn't happy with it. Canoe is fully painted. Exterior of the hull is fully done. Going away, heading up to northern Maine for the weekend with my family. We got some exciting things planned. So I'm going to let this cure and harden over the weekend, and then we'll flip the canoe over and start working on the inside. I've already sanded some of the inside repairs. The patches were removed as previously mentioned in previous videos. It's been dremeled, excavated, and G-flexed, and then sanded the best that you possibly can. And so the story with this canoe is there's no doubt that it was wrapped. There's some lateral cracks too that were repaired. It's an old canoe, and you can only make it look so much better than it was. However, it looks a lot better, and I'm really excited about this project. It's turning out far better than I ever thought it possibly could. So this is completing part 3. All the repairs are complete. All the priming is complete. The painting is complete. The next thing to do now is flip the canoe and start getting into the woodwork. We're going to be ripping down new gunnels. We're going to be refinishing the seats, thwarts, and I'm going to be insetting the deck. Typically, a Mad River canoe deck sits on top of it, and it did with this model as well, and it did on my previous video of the Mad River Mala site. It's actually the Eclipse model. The deck sat on top. I didn't have an option of not doing it that way because the bow had been damaged to a point where the only way I could have actually inset the deck was to excavate and cut the bow, and I didn't want to disturb that integrity. So with this canoe though, the bow and stern noses are fully intact, and it's going to be a nice careful carpentry evolution there where I can just inset those decks and it's going to look really nice. So the decks will go in first, the in wheels will mate up with the back side of each deck, and then the out wheels get installed on the outside of the hull. So a lot of woodworking in the next episode. Thanks for following along. I got to get going. We're heading up north. Whole bunch of fun stuff planned. Talk to you soon.